DIYers. I don't know how the hell I got here. Well, we drove here to get here. But at the invitation of the man himself, after covering content, bro, I was sitting in my living room or my little studio situation, reacting to clips about LARUSSELL.
Hard.
Somehow, some way, we get invited to the pergola. So, first of all, just want to shake your hand and say thank you for having us out here. When you gave the invitation, I followed up and I said, hit my boys up and I said, you ready to make this trip? It's not even a question about it. We have to go talk to this man because I feel like, not to draw comparisons, I was talking to my guy PB about this, but I was like, imagine instead of hearing from other people about Master P coming out the trunk with it, you get to meet Master P at the trunk.
Nigga.
And I'm not saying, like I said, you have your own story and I want to honor that, but to see you in your moment right here and to see it building and to see it up close is amazing. So we appreciate you allowing us to be here.
That's the best way to receive it. Like, I be writing books and I feel it's so important because you want information from source. That's why we do Free Game Friday. Like, you could easily, you know, you'll watch a bunch of interviews and it'll be the A&Rs or the managers or the execs or the this. And sometimes you'll get the artist, but you don't never get it. Like, it always feels third party information versus the nigga who really did it, telling you, no, this is exactly what I did, right? And that's the best information. Like, all the business books I used to read coming up weren't written by niggas who was like doing it. It was written by niggas who was around it, helping it happen, but it's a different perspective.
Yeah, well, I gotta say the transparency is something that first drew me into your content because it wasn't the music that was the first introduction, which makes the time period we're living in an amazing time where we have all these avenues as independent artists. I represent a tribe of artists that I call DIYers. And I think when people hear that initially, they think it's people who say, I don't need your help, but it's quite the opposite in that we do things ourselves. We start things ourselves because I asked you for help. I asked you for advice, but I saw that at some point I had to self-start this. And I felt like that is something that you have done, but to see your family's involvement in this, fam, like that, as an independent artist myself, it's one thing to watch another independent artist and listen to the music, love the music, all that good stuff, but to see you involve family, friends, and to see that kind of scenario work the way that it's working is inspiring. Was that something that was always from the jump in mind that you wanted to have it like that, or was kind of a thing of the circumstances?
No, definitely circumstantial. I also never had, I never seen this shit a specific way until I started doing it. Then I started having expectations of it. But prior, I was just winging it. I just doing the same shit I be doing now. I just be kind of flowing and going. And as I go, I need certain things. And if I can't go get it outside, I just kind of use the people around me. I'm like, bro, like this morning, you know, I send a text and I say, hey, I want to do this. Can y'all niggas help me? And whoever shows up to help me is just who becomes a part of it.
Man, and what a beautiful era to be able to do that in, where I always say we're living in what Shock G predicted. We're living in the digital underground.
Right.
How many stories have we heard where somebody could tell similar stories of starting something from where they're at, grassroots, but we have no video for it, or it's really grainy video?
Nigga, I was telling T the other day, I'm like, bro, all this shit is documented.
Yes.
Like
in 4K.
Nigga.
You feel me? There's no denying about it. There's no
in 6K.
In 6K. Yeah, that part.
But you know, like that shit is incredible because it's gonna be 100 years from now. And we gone, and the work that we've done is just like having this impact. And people get to go back and really, really watch. Like, I'm so grateful for all the things that was documented throughout the times. Right. I was trying to put them on to the Up in Smoke tour footage the other day. Because me and my mama came up watching that shit all the time.
Right.
And it's just like, they made a DVD. They docked it. They shared that so we got to experience that shit 10 years, 20 years later. You feel me? That shit is very important. It's one of the reasons, like, I know I could put on the type of show that I could put on because I got to see that early. Not because I heard about it, but because I got to see it.
Saw that firsthand. you know, I want to ask you questions. I got many questions. I want to respect your time, but I got many questions. This is going to be a left field one. Looking at how close your neighbors are, how in the hell? Because that's the first thing. When I put this up and I'm showcasing, like, yo, look at what this brother's doing, they like, bet his neighbors is always complaining about him. I bet da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, everybody has a certain, how did that scenario, without obviously, you know, invading upon their privacy, but how did that work out in terms of the dynamic in building this show?
I think a rising tide lifts all boats. And my neighborhood has been an example of that. Like, everybody had just went with the flow of the water. I haven't had one person come complain.
Really?
But it's been such a gradual climb that they kind of witnessed it and shared it. Like, my neighbor would come out and be like, nigga, that shit yesterday was hard. You know, like, they got to experience watching someone. They've seen this house go from an Infiniti I-30 pulling up to a Dodge Magnum pulling up to a black truck pulling up to a Sprinter to a bus.
Yeah.
They've watched it. So I think it's easier to kind of, like, you don't want to get in the way of that. And it's not like we just started with 200 niggas in the backyard. I used to be in my garage first, just rapping with the homies and rehearsing, and we had a garage up and niggas chilling. But way before I was doing that, my family was in a garage with the speakers or with the boxing matches in the front with the speakers. So it's like we've always kind of had this reverence on this block anyway.
Right.
So growing, I think, I mean, man, when I ride my bike and I go down the block, it's like everybody know what's up and it's love.
Yeah, it seems to be very much different when you have that respect to the community that you're in, and especially because I see so many things in which you're reinvesting back into the community, and that's something that for the artists that I mentor, I try to stress that even more so than the advice I give them for the music, is that if you have no love from where you're at, around where you're going on.
I think that's the only time people have an issue with shit like that. Like, niggas only be complaining when you move to them neighborhoods where you not from and they don't fuck with you and you bring all that hoorah over there.
Right.
Or you a new nigga in the neighborhood and you don't know. But when you really from where you from, that shit don't be happening. My neighbors next door be having a whole mariachi band over there. You feel me? Like when they get down, they get down. You feel me? Like, the niggas up the street, when it's y'all turn, it's y'all turn. And everybody respect that process. You only get that when you going in places where you're not from and you're not embraced and that love ain't there, or you don't pour into that community. Then it's like,
and I think also an extension, I mean, maybe this is exactly what you're saying, but an extension of that also is the authenticity that you exhibit, and the fact that you're never, even the fact, okay, so us meeting was about me putting out a tweet where it was a snippet, edited by my boy PB, but it was a snippet of a video I reacted to, and it was talking about how you made $100,000 from your backyard. And here I am championing, like, hell yeah, you see this? This is independence right here. And then you retweet. And you're like, correction, it wasn't quite this. But we did do well for ourselves. And I feel like that kind of transparency, you just talked about it off camera, like a lot of artists these days will be like, you believe what you want to believe.
Right? Because verbiage matters. If you would have just said made $100,000 from the backyard, I would have let it fly. But you said in one show, in a weekend. And it's like, it's one of my goals to make $100,000 a show. So I don't want you checking off my list before I even get to it, nigga. You feel me? It's like, no, that's not what, because that's a moment for me to celebrate. And it's like when you pretend as if it's happening before it actually happens, it's like you rob yourself of that moment and that experience too. And like I said, it's just being realistic, because what I did accomplish is celebratory as well.
As it is.
It just wasn't
we don't
that
need to put
much.
extras on that. Right. And I mean, it's different when it's authentic. It's different when it's authentic. When you know that it's something that you built with your team, and you know that you strategized about this, you figured out the different scenarios that pop up, then different scenarios pop up, and you actually see it come to fruition. I don't want you lying on my numbers. I don't want you lying on my music. Like, what it is enough. And I got to tell you, in the past few weeks, and maybe even driven by a lot of your content and stuff that I watch in your interviews, because I watch your interviews and I get myself in trouble.
Come on.
I get myself in trouble. I start to talking like somebody who's not from this time.
Nigga.
I'll be like, I'm deleting all my music off of streaming. You know what I did 2 days ago? Delete all my music off of streaming. And I'm not gonna blame you for that. I'm a grown man. I make my own situations, but I deleted my music off because let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you real quick, and I want to bounce it back to you.
Okay.
I started looking around, and I'm like, I echo some of the things that you're saying, and I'm talking to independent artists that almost feel like they're going through some kind of Stockholm syndrome, in which they're in love with the platforms, and not to demonize any platforms, but they're so in love with the current model because it's convenient, it's what they came up on, that they fight against even the conversation of physical merch, of CDs, of anything that could make them more money direct to consumer.
Right.
And yet they still come and champion you. And I'm like, are you understanding what the message overall seems to be?
Right.
But that's something I was not expecting. But I took my music off of streaming, and since I did that, it's got me thinking about a few different platforms. One of those, shout out to even.biz, and they've championed the success that you had with them as well. So I want to ask you specifically about the importance of physical in this era where everything seems to be leaning all the way in to streaming and just all these different platforms. It seems like that's something that you always make sure is front facing within your offering.
I think that
I know I said a lot.
I think not only physical media, but what's up, Gramps? Yeah, hold on, let me hug him real quick.
You good?
Yeah.
You all good.
Man, I think physical media is important, but it's not necessary. I think having tangible items to support you is just important. I don't think we should have ever left the, which I haven't, we shouldn't have never left the trunk. I think when DSPs came around and streaming, we should have embraced it, but that don't mean leave everything you already got going. No one ever told us to leave everything you got going. It was like, oh, the game is flipped up. So it's like, well, why not do both if people are willing to support both? I always believe if you have a superior product, people will want to purchase it no matter how accessible it is to them because they just fuck with that. Right? But I think you should put your music back on streaming. And because I'm a nigga who's like, and when you do that, you should tell the same story as when you took it down.
When I took it down,
right?
For sure.
Right?
I don't know if it gets much following of it, but the idea of it was specifically about Spotify, and I wanted to just remove it from Spotify because when I saw the way that this new model was laid out, my interpretation, I don't want to put no words on nobody else, but my interpretation was instead of figuring out a more fair model for everyone that is doing streaming, you found an extra 10 billion amongst what a lot of artists would call the bottom feeders who are not generating an X amount of streams past a threshold. And you're going to take that 10 billion and based upon the articles like Music Business Worldwide who talked about it, you're going to now spread that amongst the people who do meet the threshold. For me as a DIY, I started thinking about it. I was like, then I wanted to be able to remove it from there. Tried to do it. They told me that I couldn't remove my likeness or my profile from their website.
Of course, you gave it to them.
They didn't read the terms of service. Right?
I think that those conditions that they're setting, I don't believe it's unreasonable.
Okay.
I think it encourages people to make better product, to get more support. Like you're only worried about that type of shit when you're having to be worried about that type of shit. Is like, bro, if people are supporting you and streaming your music, you're going to be making your money. If you only got 2 streams that month, you worry about the wrong fucking shit anyway. Right. Nigga, them little 1.1 cent, you are worried, your focus is in the wrong place.
Right, I hear you.
Go get your shit popping and amplified to where you don't have to think about a crumb because you're getting a whole loaf. Right. We don't have to fight over that shit. It's like the DSPs came in and gave us all an extra income. And niggas is complaining. It's an extra income. They built the infrastructure. None of us built it. We just get paid off of it. Right. So until you want to build a new infrastructure like a whole, but if you want to keep enjoying and reaping the benefits of the infrastructure that they built with their heart, soul, energy, and their entire life, then you have to respect whatever precedent and rules they set. When you come to my house, there's certain shit that I'm going to allow at my house because this is my shit. And that's anywhere else you go until you build your own crib. So it's like, bro, they're providing us with extra income. My niggas get splits.
Yeah.
So it's like, I used to get $0 when I put a song online.
Yeah.
I used to put a song online and not get no money.
Right.
Now when I put that same
some money.
song online, I get paid to do it. You feel me?
Well,
so it's like, I think the numbers will always be, everyone will always be in conflict with the numbers. No
Sure.
one's ever going to feel like they're getting paid enough for their art. How could you? You feel me? I have people buy albums direct and I still feel like shit. I'm grateful though, because it's like art doesn't have no price. So that's always going to be a conflict that we could work out. But when you start like arguing over the crumbs, I just feel like it changes where our alignment should be in terms of why we do this shit and what we're doing. It's like most of us who really do music, who really care, we wasn't getting no money.
Right.
You feel me? Like you love it and you go make great art and eventually you get paid. Niggas is trying to get paid before they make great art now.
Yeah,
you didn't
which
even
is crazy.
deliver
Well,
on what the
that
fuck we
wasn't a
need to
requirement
deliver.
in the
You
beginning.
feel me? So
Well, to kind of give you train of thought, if you don't mind, just to kind of give you a train of thought into when I saw that it wasn't necessarily about it affecting me. The napkin on the math on the back of the napkin, as I put it, was 22 strings a month. That's nothing, right? You can cough and that's going. You go to sleep and do
right.
10 times, 20 times that.
You could do that through your own phone.
Through your own phone, right?
You could do that from your own phone. If you really want to argue,
you really wanna have that, you can
go
do
do
that
that from your own phone.
So my train of thought on that was not that it affected me. I've had 2 albums that have went top 5 on hip hop iTunes charts. Like I know how to market myself. I know how to work my situation. My thing was, then why not institute that in the very beginning? YouTube even made it to where in the very beginning it was 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 views and all of these things. You can just change at any point.
That wasn't always a YouTube practice. YouTube had to grow and develop as a company before they even got to the point where they could do monetization, and that was their practice. That was not always their practice. If you notice with YouTube, every few years they send you a thing that say new terms and conditions you got to accept before you can continue. Because they're growing as a company. There was practices I had in my company that didn't exist prior to where I am now because I didn't have a need. I was just building. When niggas are building things, and I think that's where the dissolution come in. There's a lot of people who consume product, and then there's people who build product.
Sure.
And those are two different things. Like when you're building something, you don't never know what the fuck it's gonna be. Spotify knew what they were after because he had a dream and he like, bro, this would be great. The same as I was building my company. But once you build it and you like, man, I got this great thing, and then everybody starts sending you lawsuits and paperwork and, oh, you took this and you, that shit you have to now learn.
That's yours.
Because that's a whole new, you got to bring in people from here and people from here. Now your business it gets so far away from the dream you originally had, and niggas on your helmet for helping. You helped a nigga make a couple extra 1,000, 100,000, 10 billion, and niggas mad at you. You feel me? For building something you thought was necessary that changed the culture. Right. And I feel like it's wrong to knock them. And I get it, like, cause I'm a artist forward nigga. Like I'm always in favor of the artist, but I feel like Spotify is an artist too. Like these niggas created something where we all make money. Some of us feed our families and do everything off streaming. Sure. You feel me? And that didn't exist. They're artists as well, and niggas and humans and people who are growing and trying to do business that they built into $1 billion corporation. Most of us go our whole lives without building something that ginormous. So it's like you can't knock it until you've been in that seat or in that position to know what they really got to go through.
Yeah. What do you think is something that, as you entered this space of independence, you wish you could have pulled your younger self to the side and been like, up the block, you can expect these things? Or maybe you had a certain expectation in coming into this versus the reality of it. Because even hearing you give the perspectives, to me, shows an empathy for somebody else who's building something, because you know what it's like to build something. You know that there's a lot of things that come out of nowhere. What do you think is something that younger self had expectations about, but could have got a dose of truth about?
I think I would have told myself to limit the expectations a bit more. And I think that would have been a bit more preserving of some of the things. I be feeling like sometimes I be going through it internally just because I expect other people to treat me in a certain capacity.
Right.
And that's just not how this shit works.
No.
You feel me? But anything else I would have instilled in myself younger would have just been centered around the work. I would have done even more work earlier if I knew that it was as simple as that.
Right. What kind of work do you mean when you say more work?
I think whatever your work is in terms of what you deliver. Like when I started doing live sessions for Good Company, I did hundreds of them. When I started doing live sessions for myself, I did hundreds of them. When I started rehearsing, I've spent so many hours, like I would have just done everything more. Back then, I used to work passively. I'll be working my job and I'll be treating my craft and my dream more passive. But I would have been dropping more music then, because I would have also understood like, oh yeah, these songs ain't the greatest, but this is how you get better. And somebody might love this song and you just making money passively off a song that was sitting on your hard drive, like man. I would have just taught myself the shit now where it's like, but I feel like I did everything right in accordance to how I was supposed to get to where I am now. Like everything I did was very necessary for me to be in a position I'm in now where I could share it and we could have these transparent conversations and where I could feel empathy for a company because I know what goes behind that. Like that should be so easy. I used to feel a lot crazy about certain people, as I was young, even with the Rock Nation situation. And I was a little bit younger during that time because I didn't have a full grasp of everything yet. But as you start building things similar and you understand all that comes with it and all you have to do, you can you gain a grander understanding.
Right. So you kind of spoke a little bit about the doing more and the content creation. I've always been curious, and it's just artist to artist. When I see you release a new project, right? You see the typical artist rollout is countdowns, and you see like a bunch of pre-preparations. You see this kind of a rollout. You see all these interviews, and not to say that you don't do that, but it dawned on me. I'm watching certain projects drop, and the very next post is a song from your catalog. And obviously, as artists, as folks who really think about both sides being an art form, I always say business is an art form as well. I sit back and I'm like, now what would possess the brother to do that? Now I have the opportunity to ask you, what is that sort of my catalog is more important than just this moment of music, and I'm going to continue to do what I was already doing, and this is just a new offering? Like, what is the mindset with that? Because I don't really see like a big hoopla per project. It's like my catalog is valuable.
I'm a tree.
Okay.
Music is my branch off the tree.
Okay.
Music is branches off my tree. Books is branches off my tree. Shows is branches off my tree. I'm the tree. Do you water the tree or do you water the branch? You
gotta chill, bro. I gotta drive home. I gotta drive home with thoughts like that. You can't do that to me, bro.
It's like, bruh. Everything is important because it all goes back to the same place. If you hear a song from my catalog you love, and then you go on Spotify, the first thing you gonna see is what? My new shit. So if you wanna listen to the new shit, you gonna listen to that. When you go listen to my new shit, you gonna go on there, you gonna see that, and then when you done with that, what you gonna see? My old shit.
Right.
So it's like, it can all be intertwined. I just feel like the goal is to push great music.
But as an artist, and maybe it's different for you, but I wanna ask you this. As an artist, you always like, my new shit though? Like, everybody got to hear this. Like, the work that we put into this.
I feel like that about all my shit.
Sure.
I feel like that about
Right.
Still Growing. Everybody got to hear this. Do that little dance. Everybody got 20. Everybody got to hear it. I feel like that about all my shit. The only reason it's called new shit for me is because it's my most recent. But I dropped fucking 8 albums this year. That's all new. It all came out this year, nigga. If a shoe dropped this year, it's new.
It's new.
It's new. All of my shit is new. You feel me?
Right.
Now, if you saying most recent, that would be the term. But the new isn't the term for me because all of that shit is new.
And a little bit of how I concluded, I guess the mindset a lot of artists have is that they're looking at this as, in a lot of ways, an old industry model, right? Of a rollout, of a campaign.
Right.
And I've seen so many videos, even specifically, I saw one where Offset was talking about how he's feeling like it's pointless almost to pick a single because he's like, the people are going to gravitate what they gravitate towards. And I kind of want to know, like, is there ever any kind of strategy that is not centered in the content where you're like, this music is going to be able to do this or this situation?
None of my strategy really be centered around the content. It'd be mostly centered around the music. Like,
Sure.
I do the songs I love most. I don't really, the people pick the songs, but I don't even really drop singles per se. I don't look at none of that shit like
right.
that, bro. It's like, if I make a song I love, we come out here and rehearse, and the next 4-5 days I'm rehearsing that song, and next thing you know, like, we found out with Test Your Nuts, it was dope because I started rehearsing that shit and performing it before it even released. Niggas knew the words and was rapping it. So it's like, did they choose it or did I choose it by doing it?
Right.
You feel me? The people are going to gravitate to whatever you deliver to them. They'll have songs they like more or less, but they only get the opportunity to like them songs based on you. You know, Baggage Claim is one of my biggest songs. I had the piece in the back of the truck. You think the people chose Baggage Claim, or did they just see it so many times? It's like, this is my any song that goes that you push that amount is what's going to be their song. You feel me?
And it's almost like you're just presenting other pieces of this catalog that you believe so much in, and it's like,
just present the art.
You chose it.
Just present the art. And it's dope that people can choose because you get data. Like, I heard with Scissor Project, like, Snooze wasn't the lead, but you know, that's the one everyone chose. And I think that's when you kind of navigate and you move around. But I'm also like, I'm big on not moving based off public opinion or perception. Like, you do what you love. Like, some data is undeniable. Like, we had a moment, I got a song called Django that I released in 2021.
Yes, sir.
We had a little girl come up on stage at one of the shows, and she sung Django, and it went viral. It had a moment online, so it just reminded me, like, oh, nigga, I had literally went home and was like, nigga, we been had hits. Like, because Django's from 2021, but now when we go do a show, everybody's singing that song because that moment happened. And that just told me, like, the song never was not good. It just didn't get the exposure or the push it needed. Like, people are going to gravitate to whatever you put in front of them if they enjoy it.
I kind of feel like I know the answer to this one, but when something like that does take off, is there any pivoting? That's like, we need to capture this lightning in the bottle type of moment, you know what I mean? So is it anything that you're thinking of pivoting at that point?
It's not necessarily pivoting, but I notice with me, like, I will start the ad process.
Okay.
Depending on where we're at, you can start the seed process. But with me, the song ends up in my psyche a bit. So I end up performing them during rehearsals. So people just start hearing them more during that. Or I'll start performing them at shows because it's like people sing along to those. Like, it just naturally becomes a part of me again because I enjoyed the moment too. Like, I watched the clip as many times as they watched the clip. You feel me?
That's the best feeling. So when you look back and you're like,
when you can enjoy your own shit, that's when you know it's like, it's unbiased to me. Like, I get to just watch it as a content piece, and if it came from anyone else, I'd be excited about it too.
Dido, you know, she said that in the VH1 one interview. She was like, if I wouldn't listen to it in my own car, why am I making it? I was like, drop the mic. I'm with you on that. The most important question, and I do this on behalf of, like I said, my tribe of DIYers. It's unfortunate. I meet a lot of the delusional folks you're talking about. They're not in the DIY community, thankfully. Hopefully they're not. But they'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, I'm on that LARUSSELL shit. And I'm like, but what does that mean, sir? Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
I'm here. I'm at the pergola and I'm looking at this and I'm like, you don't have the hands of the technology.
He like, you don't see my Crocs?
Like, but in the fact that you do this, so I got 2 more questions for you. The first one being, how do you balance performing at such a high level as an artist and performing on the business end, the content end? I know obviously it's a team effort, but how do you perform at such a high level at all these things? Because I'm listening to the metaphors, I'm listening to like you barring up, and I'm like, when you got time to write like this? Because that's somebody who continues to write. I know that as an artist. So how do you strike that balance between the both?
I just live. It's not balanced at all.
Okay.
Some days I don't want to touch a computer, and I won't because I just don't want to. And some days I'm in that mode and it's like, I'm finna knock out hella. And some days I don't want to write raps, but I will wake up in the morning one day and be like, child, load up. and we'll do 10 songs that day, and I write them all that.
It's done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel me? So it's very unbalanced, but it works. You feel me? I'm where I need to be for me to feel good in the moment. You know, we'll go a minute without shooting hella content, but we'll do dump days where it's like, okay, this whole day we end up with 10, 15 pieces. So that works for me. Now we ahead. You feel me? So it's not really a balance. I go where I feel like being at the moment, and everybody kind of flow along with me. And
so would harmony be a better word? Yeah, he said it is what it is. I'm gonna live with that. I'm gonna live with that.
Life would be the best word. The same way niggas clock in and go to their job and come home and pick up their daughter and do that, and then go to school and then go see their parents and go holler at that. That's the same shit that I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, brother, I appreciate your time, and I'm looking. Like I said, I keep looking around because it's one thing to see it on IG, it's one thing to see it in person, but it's something that has inspired me as a DIYer to create a stage inside the living room.
Come on.
Right? Because if the one thing the pandemic taught me is that all of the stuff that we were relying upon, it can be gone.
The pandemic showed niggas they didn't have no infrastructure at all.
Sheesh.
Boy.
All that slick talking I started hearing from people who were like, you gotta be here to do this. Everybody was in their house arguing on the phones, and
it was dope though, because it made so many niggas get production teams and video crews and edit. It made a lot of the niggas who did know how to pivot and was like, no, I gotta figure out how to eat. Right. They really made some shake, and they gave us new things in the culture that didn't exist prior. You feel me? Like, COVID's a big part of, like, we live stream a lot of rehearsals and shit, and that's a byproduct that came out of that. Our live performance sessions started in COVID. We had a lot of dope things that came out of that. So the people who did take it for what it was and adjusted created new things for us, you know, and that shit is dope. We still have Zoom meetings till this day.
Yeah, I'm not stopping that. I like the flexibility. All I gotta do is dress up here, basketball shorts. Ain't nobody worried about nothing. So I'm gonna land it right here. I'm gonna ask you a very transparent question, because I have been someone for many years. When I had to be my own graphic designer, I'll do that. My own video editor, I'll do that. I'm starting the delegation process, and there doesn't always seem to be very clear instructions, especially when you're hiring friends sometimes, and sometimes you gotta strike the balance between us. Like, how you tell your homie, like, hey, bro, like, I need this to, man, I got you, I got you. But my thing is this: as I delegate, as I start to do this DIY process, but put it in the hands of folks that I trust, who can do it at a higher level than I can do individually, what advice would you have for me as I start to build out my systems, as I start to build out the team?
I think you start by being very transparent and clear. I don't think sugarcoating anything, just because it's sweeter don't mean it's good for you, right? I don't think that helps anything. And I feel like I'm both with my team, and not even just my team, just in life in general. I'm nurturing when I need to be, but I'm also stern too. But I'm also very authentically me. So nothing is malicious. Like, I'll be like, hey, that was ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, you take the critique and we come back and we make something better.
Sure.
You feel me? I think it's very important to just assert what you don't enjoy and what you do enjoy. And you got to know everybody isn't for every role.
What do you mean?
Like, people in life have different specific skills, right? If you judged every animal on its ability to climb a tree, you're going to think some animals are, because you're using the same cadence. Everybody can't do everything. You have to really find which people are for which things and where they align. Sometimes you're not getting the product what you want because you don't know where to put your pieces to get the result you want. It's not that you have the wrong pieces. You have them in the wrong places. You feel me? So I think that's very important. And from there, just being really transparent. Like, I could text any one of these niggas very, very harsh critique if necessary.
What's an example of a harsh critique? What does that sound
like? I think the harshest I get is that shit was ass. I think that.
This nigga told me he was gonna fire me for the vlog.
I'll be down. Well, I'll be down.
I'm paying you for these motherfuckers. And
Right.
he left me with that for like 30 minutes, and then we went on a walk, and then he gave me the nurturing. He was
Wow.
like, nigga, this is like,
He's let me go, but he like in that moment he's like, if this isn't what you really want to do, you gotta tell me now. I'm giving you this out.
He'll fire your ass, but he ain't gonna let you know though.
Right.
He'll let a nigga know.
Okay.
Right?
There it is.
It's very like, I'm gonna give you all the information and equipment and everything you need to do it the right way. Sometimes I won't even give you all that, and I just want to see what you
See how you
deliver to.
operate.
Like,
Yeah.
man, Gigs is one of those who I trust Gigs so much with the vision that a lot of times I'm just like, this is what I want. Whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you end up with is what you end up. You feel me?
Right.
And that work. And sometimes it don't work. Sometimes I'm like, nah, not that.
That's
But
not
we
the
end
vision,
up
yeah.
still getting to that point. But I think it's just important for you to be honest and transparent and clear on your vision and what you want. And like I say, delegating properly. Like, you really have to. It's chess.
Yeah.
Right? And if your piece is in the wrong position for what you're trying to accomplish, it's just not gonna work.
Man, I greatly appreciate your time, brother. I don't know if you were telling me. Oh, we're good. Okay,
We
I don't know. I
good,
thought he told me
yeah.
I had 2 minutes left. I was like, my brain was like, I wish I'd have heard that 20 minutes ago. And not, we want to respect your time, obviously, but bro, it's been leading up to this, and I'm like, every time I have these conversations with folks who are like, I don't know if they categorize themselves as independent, but I think a lot of times the terminology of independent and up and coming gets interchanged. And I'm like, when you see somebody who has a system, you have a business, you've invested into this, you can't compare that to somebody who's like,
Right.
we're pulling up to a show and you know
Right.
it's a movie tonight. It's like, no, you have this in place. So I guess my question
Right.
for that is, for those who truly want to walk in the footsteps that you've laid out, because you've been very transparent. I love the Free Game Friday because I'm like, fam, if my favorite rappers would sit down for a minute, and I know that wasn't the time period, and answer some of these questions.
Direct, nigga. You can't beat it. You
The amount of
can't beat
headaches
it.
I went through that y'all are relieving on a regular basis, like it's almost to the point where I listen to some of these episodes and I'm like, he get it out for free.
You get that out for free.
You get it for free, but and still, I see it and I'm like, you're not necessarily picking it up. So for those who want to follow in those footsteps, for whatever that may mean, everybody has different variables, different circumstances. Whatever that means, what would be your suggestion to them? Because you got a lot of ears open. I'm one of those who I listen and I hear the message. For those that want to follow in those footsteps, what is that? What could that look like for them?
Man, that can't be answered properly because there's so many phases to independence, like you said.
Right.
It's kind of a misconstrued narrative because independence covers so wide, right? Like, independent is the nigga who just released his first song on YouTube, but independent is also Chance the Rapper and Russ. And being that they use the same term, it's like Apple, right? Apple could be, there's 100 different things with Apple, right? But everyone kind of connects them, and the advice that you need would depend on which part of independence you're in. So it's hard for me to kind of give it.
I'll give you a specific example. For someone who has got their business in order and they're in a place where they're taking care of all the different streams of revenue that you talked about from the sound exchanges, they're registering their music, they're making sure that they've crossed those, but they're trying to figure out, okay, in terms of my content, what should I be focused on? Because when I look at the output of content that you put out, I look at it and I'm like, I love the fact that I can look from the outside and be like, this brother's not chasing numbers, right? And that's not trying to be insulting or anything, but it's like, the content is going to, like, I'm going to show up regardless of what you guys choose to do. And to me, that's inspiring because I got to be honest with you, like, I have not always been somebody that was obsessed about the numbers because a lot of these numbers just jumped around, right? I think 2006 or 2009 was the first time the like button was even here. And now some people are dependent upon it. With that said, though, what is sort of your approach when it is to content? And obviously you want to do numbers at some point with what you're doing, because a lot of people are putting a lot of work in, but what is kind of your mindset as you're seeing these things take off or not take off?
I literally just make a bunch of shit and I try to, we used to share a shit ton because we had so much. And one day I went on a page and I was scrolling through and I'm like, I don't love this. I don't love this. And me and T sat down and had a convo and I was like, okay, let's reel it down. Now that we got people tuned in into our TV network, let's reel it down a bit. Let's try to get only the shows and the quality shit that we really, really love. Right. And we got narrower. And now we get in more, that starts coming down more and more. Like even today we'll go through and we're like, okay, but I didn't love that one, but I did like, but I didn't love it, right? And I think that your page is like your curation and your taste. Mm-hmm. So just share the shit you love. And this strategy that I've used has helped me break every artist that I've helped. I use the same thing. Right. We make content that we enjoy. We choose the ones that we're like, we can't live without. Mm-hmm. Even when you start, I don't even think you have to choose the ones you can't live without. I think it's preferred, but I think when you start, get your shots up because that'll teach you. It'll get you the repetition to get to the point where every time you play, it looks like a highlight reel, right?
Would you mind if I ask specifically, what are the boxes that you're checking off when you say, for LaRussell, that's quality content that deserves to go out?
How it feels.
At this stage, how it feels?
How it feels is the only thing I really care about. Because some shit, it could look like shit. Sometimes it could sound like shit. Yeah. But how did it feel? When you watched, where you smiled, did it have you laugh? Right. How did it feel? And if it felt great, that's all you need. Yeah. If I wasn't moved, sometimes we have content that is like, I'll watch and I'll smile a bit, but there's also pieces that nigga T hit play on and we like, nigga.
Yeah.
And them are the ones, right? And everything won't be that. So you try to get around that range, but them are the ones that is really focused. But you make 10 pieces, you might only get one that's that. Mm-hmm. But I think you start narrowing. It's like, all right, let's pick 3 more that was close to that feeling. Then it might not have hit it, but it's three bases loaded. You feel me? It still got us there.
And it's crazy because I use the same approach when it comes to recording music, in that the thing that was able to get me out of my head years ago was what I call it the Aaliyah theory, right? This is one of a million. If I tell myself that I'm going to record 1 million songs in my lifetime, which I probably would never do that, right? But en route to that, it changes the way that I'm looking at this moment right here, and I'm no longer overjudging it. I'm no longer obsessing about what this is, and I feel like in a lot of ways,
right,
what you just explained right now with the content could help not only a lot of folks who are watching, but myself. Because there's times where I'm like, I love for my shit to look cinematic. I love for it to look a certain type of way, but that shit take time.
I think, and one thing I don't ever want a nigga to do is not get started. Because they're trying to get the perfect piece or the best. It's like I said, when you starting, get your shots up. Yeah. So a nigga even want to pick you and put you on a team so you can actually get some plays. Like just get your shots up. Right. Get those reps in. Everything don't even have to be shared at that point. I believe as long as you getting the repetition in, whether someone's seen it or not, you still gonna get what you need until you get to that point where, like I say, when you play, it's just a natural highlight because that's just you. That's how you play.
Bro, for the life of me, I don't understand. When content creation got presented to me, it wasn't called content creation, right? I started really early at a time where I pivoted towards YouTube, and my artist friends were looking at me like, what are you doing? You a YouTuber now? But it wasn't in a space of content creation.
You know what's so crazy? The title is what throws everyone off.
What is that?
We grew up watching Rap City The Basement.
Yeah.
Today, Rap City The Basement would be content. Major Stage.
We grew
up watching 106 in Park. Wow. Today, 106 in Park would be a fucking TR, whatever is that platform. Jimmy Fat. We grew up. We literally grew up watching commercials with AI playing basketball. Yeah, that's the same as Drewski doing some shit with prize. It's not a new content has existed our entire. That's how they sell products.
Right.
That is literally content has been around forever. We literally everything we consumed from comedy shows to that, they were all making content. Here. We just didn't call it that.
So the thing that confuses me. So I read a book by I forget the author's name, but it's called Seducing Strangers. It's a marketing book, and he says a quick way to look at content and branding in a different way. He said replace those with 2 words. He said replace branding with reputation and replace content with message. And he said see if that does something different to your creativity. But for the life of me, when I'm thinking about how creative we are as artists to be able to take a mumble, turn it into a chorus, a producer takes a few of these one shots and turns it into a full production. I'm like, we have a gift. But when you sit a rapper down in front of, a 15-second piece of content, it feels like all the creativity for some folks becomes lost.
That's because they're trying to create something that doesn't exist instead of just doing what they do. If someone taxed you with a project and they said, I need you to make a 15-second clip with Steph Curry, and I just want it to be cool, whatever you have him do. The smartest nigga there is going to have him shoot something.
Right.
Because that is what he does best. The nigga who might want to go left field will have him do something outside of that.
Right.
But it's like, that might work.
Yeah.
But if you just do the thing that you do exceptional, you don't have to ever think about content too deeply. You could just do that until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I want to get more creative. But if there is people on YouTube who just have a mic in their bedroom set up in a little wall. What's bro name? It was one of my favorites. It's this black dude. I think his name is like Joseph. But he just sits in his room with a mic and sings songs, and that shit work. And it's always worked, you know? And then once you get there, if you can't even at least do that, and you tell, I don't know how to come with content, it's like, bro, you're overthinking it. It doesn't have to be that serious. Go play basketball, nigga, and set the camera up.
It's okay to go outside. You don't get hurt,
Bro, you can literally... I had a viral clip for Premonitions a couple years ago, and I just stood in the middle of my street and rapped.
Yeah.
I didn't do nothing else. I stood in the middle of the street and rapped.
Right.
We got a clip going right now. I'm in my living room rapping.
Right.
Like that shit doesn't change. You feel me? If you do what you do well, it's gonna everything else. But it's hella clip. Kodak is one of my favorite because he got a bunch of clips like this where this nigga just riding in a car, just beating on the window.
Yeah.
And he's rapping something.
Yeah.
And it always, for some reason, makes the media because they just raw moments. Like, just do what you do.
Somebody gave me a gem because I'm notorious for pivoting. I love utilizing my creativity, but to a fault sometimes, to where I find something that works. And then my brain is like, this is stagnant. Where are we going next? And I had a buddy of mine that said, you got a 1-year problem. So what the hell is that? He said, after a year, you pivoting and you would never know. He said, imagine what that 2-year success could have been for that one particular thing. Because we're living in an era where instead of that being categorized as a one-trick pony, that could be the thing that opens up doors that you never even would have thought of.
Yeah. Seattle be trying to get me to stick to things. Yeah, I feel like there's benefit in that. I mean, imagine you in a hoop game and a nigga just pivot the whole game. Nigga never shoot the never score, a nigga just pivot. You know, I think there's power in following through. You feel me, and making things happen. But I think it's also a power in knowing when to pivot. Like I'm a big pivot. I will pivot in the middle of the day. Like as soon as I'm like, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
It's time to pivot, and I think that's okay as long as you keep executing.
Good.
Are you okay?
That was a full one back. So at this stage, I, as an artist now, like I said, I'm gonna bring my music back to streaming. LARUSSELL didn't tell me himself. He said, "Bring that music back to streaming."
You cutting off your own money.
But you know, at the same time, I am looking at it at a time where a lot of interesting conversations are going. There's a buddy of mine, is an artist named Stevie Crooks, who makes some phenomenal art, and he brought up something that kind of messed me up. He said, "If Basquiat was in this era, what would that look like?"
We don't even need to think about that shit.
Can I? No, I hear you. But can I? So forget the name. My thing is this: the art, and living in a time where there are so many people. You brought them up that value the money over the art. A lot of people are not encouraged to perform art at its highest level. I look at you, and I see somebody who's not settling in your art. You're looking for what that next level is. I listen to Hustlenomics versus Family Business, and I'm like, where the fuck did you go? Where did you go? Like creatively, where did you go? And I'm listening to the string arrangements, and even when I look at your live shows and I see the live music aspect of it, you care about this art. So remove the name. It's more so about we're living in a time where there's people who are being rewarded for mediocre art. So it may encourage people to not even look at. So for instance, if you're a lyricist, I always have this argument about Kendrick. I don't think Kendrick's trying to impress anybody. I just think that's the way he raps.
He's rapping.
That's his dopamine spiking off when he does that way he does it. So in the conversation of performing art at its highest level, even for somebody who may not necessarily look at it as a career, but as something that they just want to perform that, that's a conversation that I definitely have given a lot of thought to, because I'm like, how many things have I adjusted and compromised in the name of this being more widely accepted?
See, and I think that's where like I be having to remember, I don't consider the outside when I do. Like my thing is taking shit off like DSPs. To me, it's like me having a great product and making a commercial and saying I'm not putting my shit on TV.
Right.
It's like, well, who did you hurt?
You on my head? Like, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back.
You feel me? But I feel like for the sake of the art, it would be, if you love your art, it's wise for everyone to be able to consume it and experience it, no matter how much money you make off of it. You feel me? Because that just can't be the case. That just can't. But I feel like when we start looking at numbers and shit, it makes us adjust what we actually feel about the art and what it means to us. And I think mediocre art does encourage more mediocre art. But that's the same as like people who value the money over the art. Like that's always going to exist. And we could do nothing about that. The only thing you could do about that is make phenomenal art. And you toured for 25 years off your one album like Lauryn Hill because we still revere phenomenal art. Like as much mediocre art out there, the world treats it like it's mediocre art. That's why once a artist is done, like you see, you treat it like such.
But you're a difference in that though. Just a little pushback. I feel like you're a difference in that because of the way people show up for you, not just as an artist, as a human being. When you show up in the community and you're doing these pay what you want, these proud to pay campaigns. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like, the fact that you got your arm around the owner of a restaurant, like you can see the love in their eyes. That's different. And I feel like with people, if you decided, you know what, y'all, I'm pivoting and I'm focusing on this artist, people are going wherever you're going because of how much you've invested into them. So when I think about that, even with the whole DSP situation, I hear you. And I had my former manager, Salad, shout out to him. He told me, he said, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. He's like, it's like going to a restaurant and they say, we don't accept any cash. He's like, don't you hate those? Or no credit cards. And I'm like, I get it. But my thing now is so much of the narrative has been lean on streaming. Forget about the CDs, forget about the physical from a lot of folks. And I feel like it shouldn't be an either or, but what would happen if I made this my center focus? What would happen if I aligned with an even? What would happen? I'm looking at, and obviously your success is your success, but I'm looking at that and I'm seeing that people are buying art that is worth buying to them, regardless of what the functionality of it is. If they have a record player, if they have a CD player, they're buying it for the sake of that. So when I look at that, that's where I'm necessarily coming from, is that what if we put the emphasis on the physical product? What would that look like and what kind of people would show up?
People buy your art. People buy your album once, maybe 3 times, max. Digitally, once. You get paid off streaming perpetually for the next 100 years. In 100 years, somebody may be physically buying family business, but I know in that same 100 years, the amount of people that's going to stream it is going to make far more than that physical is ever going to produce because it's perpetual. They only had to buy your album once. That's a one-time payment that you're going to exchange for a lifetime of revenue and exposure. To buy your album, they have to come to your store. To find your album, they could be walking through Target, through Best Buy, through, you feel me? You don't want to deny people that opportunity because someone who finds it on Spotify might come buy it from you. But you just cut off that whole river to stand on. Throughout my journey, I've had to sit with myself and ask several times, is what you're standing on more important than what you can accomplish by changing the world, or what your impact in this world is what you're standing on? Is this more important? And sometimes it is. Sometimes for me it is. And I'm like, I just can't do it, don't matter what.
Yeah.
But sometimes I've realized, like, you didn't have to stand on that, bro, because what the grand scheme is, like, if your art is what you believe it to be and impactful and life-changing, it's far more important for you to make sure that the world gets to consume and hear that art than that.
Which is why I said I would definitely bring it back, but this time it's not the younger version of Curtis King who was just uploaded and not reading any terms of service. Now when something happens, I know that this is always here. What you're giving me is game, and I appreciate that. I'm humbly accept that, because there was a part of me that was very nervous, obviously, about doing this. I got numbers. I got albums that have done really, really well, projects, songs, all of these things. But there was a part of me that said, because I felt that, I'm gonna always have that in the back of my head. Now I have done that. Now where I'm the last thing I'll say. Now where I'm at with it now is that I have the experience of this. I'm gonna go back into this and now know that the people that I bring in this next space are folks that forget about just the CD. You're right, the CD can only be bought one time, the vinyl, but these are people who do see the music as an art form. I want to try with those.
And you know, my biggest thing is like, none of that shit even matter as much as like cultivating experience. That's ultimately what's selling, like what's impactful in the world. Is like, bro, the music gonna go where it's gonna go and do whatever it do.
Sure.
But until you start impacting real people and hugging them and changing their lives and altering the way they talk to their children and how they do business, everything else is like, bro.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's a fucking song.
Yeah.
Like, and bro, Tieta had to sit me down one day and be like, nigga, it's songs.
Right.
Nigga, it's songs.
Right.
You got a whole fucking venue in your backyard with people who come and like, that's the important shit. And I feel like we get so far away from what be important because we cling on to these little nuances, but it's like, you have to really sit and it's like, what are you doing this for? And I think whatever the answer to that question is determines on what's important to you.
Sure.
But you have to ask, what are you doing this for?
Right.
If it's for sales, then figure out how to judge your sales.
Right.
But if it ain't about that, then you misallocating energy. You could send that to get to whatever you really doing this for, right? Because all of that shit be minimal in comparison to everything else. Like the streams is it just don't equate, you know?
And I didn't want the whole conversation to be necessarily about that, but I was curious because I'm in a place where, admittedly so, like I can be idealistic. I can be, I am definitely artist first, and it can be to a fault. And I'm at a place where it's a really interesting time in which I'm at a crossroads with a lot of things, not about the music. I love the music more than I ever have before. I tell you, the music I made after I took my streaming off, just for one day, it just felt for the first, and maybe I needed to do that for my spirit. Forget the business of my spirit, bro. I set up on my live stream, I made this beat. I was like, for the first time, I'm not thinking about what is the rollout of this. I get to focus on what you're saying, this world that you created, this atmosphere that is not relying upon, you think they're gonna fuck with this? You're saying I'm creating this, and then I'm presenting it as an opportunity.
See, and that's the thing. I've noticed, like, all of that for people have become such a tedious task when really like with us, when I make a song I love, we love it and we fucking around, and the rollout kind of just comes. Like life gives that to you. Right. And that's just like a excited, it's nothing you gotta stress over,
You get to do
right?
it and not have to.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, you ain't gotta do that shit. You get to do that shit.
But look, bro, you give me so much. It's so inspiring. Like the energy. First of all, the way you shut up on the timeline and you give love, you give life. But when I'm seeing, like I said, a project that comes out, I get like secondhand anxiety because it's artist to artist. Because I'm like, oh shit, I just know this is a busy time. Everybody hitting the phone up. You get booked for shows.
You know what's hella funny? I had meetings early, and we were going to do a project with a partner.
Right.
And they was like, "What day you want to drop?" And I told him the date, and he was like, "What you mean? That's off cycle." I said, nigga.
First of all, let me get this off first. Yeah.
Nigga, I am in Vallejo in my fucking home.
Yeah.
Ain't no side. What are you talking about? And it hit him. I felt it through the phone the moment it hit him. Like, right. You're conditioned. Now the niggas be like, oh, you know, everybody shut down for the holidays. Who? My niggas still here working. And I know niggas still on Instagram. I don't know one nigga who shut down for the holiday because everybody's still online. Niggas is still going viral.
I heard
so
somebody on IG like,
bro,
nah,
that shit,
December here, we can't do this now.
Man, as long as you treat your art like that, you know, you gotta keep. Remember, it's like, what are you doing this for? You feel me? And I feel like that always gets you where you need to be.
With that said, what are you doing this for?
Cause I love it. I can't do shit else.
Same. Have you tried have you tried normal shit? Like, I get invited to stuff that's not music related, and I'm like, am I showing my age or am I always just as tired?
Hilarious.
When I'm not in front of a booth or in front of a computer, I'm like, damn, I feel old right now. I can't even stay awake in front of the TV. If it's not like social media, I'm spending time with my son, obviously. Spending time with my son and my wife is a different thing. But like, I go to functions and I'm like, life is just different. It's
right?
different.
What you desire and what you want and what you mesh with all changes. And for me, it's just like, I'm not gonna do shit else. Like, I'm always gonna be, my life is just my life. And I can't really do things that I don't enjoy. So until I don't enjoy it or don't want to do it, like, this is just what I'm gonna be doing. And as long as I'm doing something, I'm gonna be impactful. Or I'm gonna try to do, you know, it's substantial or in a way that I enjoy it or love it. And that's the dope thing with music, is like, you get complete freedom to make anything.
Yeah.
And either people love it or they don't. But even if they don't, as long as you love that shit, it's a W. Like, I dropped so many albums, but I love them motherfuckers. Like, I wouldn't have put the song on there if I didn't enjoy it when I made it. You feel me? So I like that liberation that comes with it. I just love it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I can feel that. I understand that firsthand. There's times where I try to explain this to somebody and I'm like, I'm speaking Rapanese right now. I'm speaking producing it. You're not gonna get this at all. Like, I have to just live with that and understand that our worlds are very different. Pay what you want. As much as I see information, blog posts, videos from people who obviously haven't done it before.
Right.
Chat GPT it. Right. Trying to understand this world. It's crazy how many marketers, because I do like a lot of artist marketing videos and whatnot, how many marketers have come to me. And that's one of my first passions, was marketing along with music, because I felt like I could weave it the same way that I weave together a beat.
Right.
With that said, though, there's a lot of confusion I feel with, at least on their end, how that actually generates income. When you're able to maybe set a bar, maybe not set a bar, but not for making sense for their sake, but for the sake of us as artists who are looking into that, who want to give the opportunity for somebody that said, look, I not only rock with your music, but you helped me through a dark period in my life. I have to show love in a much different way. What is kind of what's the science on that? Like, what is, as I'm trying to understand it and set price points, it's like, no matter where I go, and now I'm talking to the guy.
So there's variations, right? There's Proud to Pay. I think both of them are variations of Proud to Pay. Shout out Nipsey for just creating that blueprint. But so I use two variations of Proud to Pay. I use Pay What You Want and I use Offer Base, right? When I do Pay What You Want, I don't really have an intention of making profit. Like, I know what it is. And I understand that you may not have the means to afford whatever I'm providing.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that. That's why, like, when we do Momo's Proud to Pay, it's like, the goal is to feed people. I know niggas ain't finna cut. Like, bro, the goal, if you didn't have funds to eat and you needed this, I don't expect you to do that.
It's not what it's about.
Right? So people misconstrue it and like, oh, they ain't gonna make no profit. It's like, no fucking shit. I don't care.
I made it.
You think I'm fucking feeding people to make money?
Yeah.
Like, no one does that to make money.
Yeah.
That's not the route you take. You don't feed the community because you want to make some fucking money. You feel me?
And to preface, I'm not asking that for like the best financial come up in it. I, to a fault, would do that with my audience where they're like, you can't be giving this out for free.
But you can and you should. And it's not free. Now someone's paying. Like, when I do albums, the profit potential is endless because it cost me nothing to make an album. I record in my own studio. These are all my homies. This is money that we didn't have. So if it didn't cost us nothing to make it, and now a nigga just gave me $1,000, $2,000, $250, $2, $3, nigga.
Right.
If I go somewhere and my pocket's empty and I leave with $5, I didn't lose that day. You feel me? So that's a W. And then we scale the offer base. Like when we do backyard shows, it's offer base. Because, and not even because I'm like, I have to make a profit, but because I have more responsibility that comes with that. So it's like, yeah, I have to pay more. I'm feeding everyone. You feel me? So in that case, everything's not conducive, but I still let niggas, you know, no matter what I do, I still let niggas in with $1, $3, you feel me? Because I'm just that type of nigga, and I know like, you might not have it now, but you, and I've had people who didn't have it now, but they came and got me on the last one, and it was like, man, you made up for 3, 4, you feel me? So, man, I just think that the people gonna always choose, they gonna always take care of a nigga who take care of them. And so far I've been right. And the only time I've ever lost is monetarily. I've never lost. I can only lose money.
You said experience.
Are you trying to tell me to move over somewhere? Okay.
Oh, it's experiences that that you can cultivate, experiences that you spend time with, and that's something that, as I'm thinking about why do people go to shows, and as an artist, like I spent a bit of a hiatus in creating content on YouTube. And then I started getting back out there with the people, and I realized how much I missed this. Watching you up here, right? Shout out to the homie Thurs who does Party in My Living Room. And I just saw how much I miss seeing the reaction of somebody who's like, is he gonna do that thing? Or is he saying that thing?
That's what it's about.
With that said, though, obviously after the pandemic, a lot of people got used to staying at home. What do you feel like have been some of the keys to the success of getting people? Because we're not, I say as artists, we're not competing with each other. We're competing with Netflix. We're competing with the pillow at home, the job that's been kicking somebody's ass, and their decision to say, am I going to get dressed again to go show support at this show? With that said, what do you think has been sort of the key to it? Even aside from the amazing music, obviously, but there's got to be something more, because there's folks who are making great music but are not able to do this.
I think you're never competing when you're cultivating people that love you. Like your wife not competing with nobody.
Yeah, right.
You just decide to come home and fuck with her because that's what you choose to do.
I better come home.
It don't, like Netflix and everyone is there, but there's no competition. I think that you just need to hyper focus on creating things that you love so other people can feel that connection and love it. Because if somebody love it, you're never in competition. Like niggas who love McDonald's don't give a fuck if Wendy's on a corner. That's they shit, and that's where they going. It's not a competitive aspect there. You just built the product they love, and I think that's what's important. You can't build that. You can only grow it. You feel me? So I think it's very important to nurture those seeds to where you just, man, you get products that change people's lives, and you become a person that changes people's lives. Like, man, a lot of niggas come to this, like the last show we had was so special because I allowed people to do like their testimonials and shit. And man, it was a special moment. And it showed me how much deeper the music is being received than when I put it out. Like for me, it's songs. Like I make songs I love and I share them, but people on the receiving end, whatever it is to them is who I am to them is based off their perspective completely. It has nothing to do with me. You feel me? So you just have to cultivate things that allow people to be them, be free, and you naturally build that. It's never no competition.
When I see how much your family shows up for you, like it's something to where y'all feel like relatives. I just got to meet today. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I watch and I'm like, even seeing the relationship with moms, and it's like I feel like with my moms, she bought me my first interface. She bought my first interface. She went to Guitar Center, didn't know what I need. She saw me on this patio making beats on, way back when, it's making beats in Carson on this patio, smoke coming out my mouth because it's cold as hell out there on that patio. And she's like, I got this for you. And an omnidirectional mic. And I'm like, I don't know how to do nothing with this, but I'm gonna figure it out, and I appreciate you. And so with that said, that family dynamic is so important. I didn't always see that support from all aspects of family. And I think every artist goes through it on a certain degree, but I know there exists an artist out there who will make excuses and say, well, nobody supports me.
Right.
How do I cultivate an experience when I feel like my friends don't support what I'm doing? And let's say they actually do make great art, but maybe it's their attitude, whatever the case may be. for that person, that avatar in particular, they're like, well, maybe it's a product of where you live at. They're making all the excuses for why it's happening, right?
Right.
What would you kind of say to that individual about where they can start from and start to build something?
I don't think there's nothing you could do with them. I think that a nigga who's using all his time to make excuses can't use his time to make things happen. It's as simple as that.
You can stop watching now.
It's as simple as that. You gotta earn support. I don't know why niggas just think a nigga's supposed to cheer for you.
Entitlement.
You not tight.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. You have to earn support. Like, man, I had years of making beats in my room, and my pops used to walk right on past, you know.
What you making beats on?
FL Studio. I started off producing.
That's another W for FL. I'm gonna just go ahead and say
that.
Of course,
man.
That's another W right there.
You know, but it had to get to, for him to pop his head in, it had to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And for him to be like, all right, play that back, it had to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And for the homies to be like, nigga, play that back, it had to get to a certain, you have to earn that. Nobody just has to give you that because you started.
Yeah.
So?
And there's a lot of, it's a lot of, and I get that.
You know how many things niggas start and then stop and go do something? It's like, bro, you have to earn that. Like, we can't, you can't, that's why I don't like participation trophies. It's like, nigga, you ain't win the game. We didn't win because you feel me? Like, you can't do that shit. Like, people, you give those things when people earn them. You can't just give a nigga an accolade because it's like, bro, you have to earn those things. And that's the same with your family support, the same with your friend support. I have homies who do this shit who I haven't done things with yet. And it's just because it's like, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
You feel me? But I'll find somebody who I don't know from nothing, but it's like, I love that. They already earned, like, man, that's just something you have to earn, and you should never give it away. Like, as a person, you should never just, I think you can help niggas just because, but I think you should really make them earn them. Like, even that help, like, even the people who don't have it all there yet, you have to see it in them.
Yeah.
Like, man, when I met Splash, he showed me this video, and the video wasn't like phenomenal, but it was phenomenal. Like, what I knew what it took to just make that.
Yeah.
And I seen it and I knew, like, nigga, if you get around this, I know you gonna be, you feel me? But he had to earn that. If it wasn't that, it would have just been like, all right, whatever, you feel me?
You hit it on the head when you say that a lot of artists are worried about the wrong thing. Because when I hear in this day and time, I gotta be less accessible to the people. I gotta build up my value. I'm like, do you see what's going on? Like, do you see what's happening? And that people want that they need that extra layer of content, that extra layer of personality, that personable situation. You created experience. I remember Nipsey said something about when he first started to do the Proud to Pay, and he was like, I'm trying to basically cultivate an experience that you can't stream. I love that so much because it's like, now that's what's winning. That's what
separates you, bruh. That's what separates. Like, a lot of artists that come up now, if you're a fan, you can't even go up to them. Like, they don't even, you feel me? Like, it's just a different energy, or you don't feel comfortable because of the persona that they create. I've met so many artists that after I met, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You're a dope person. Like, your music isn't reflective of your and I think that's important for for people to feel comfortable showcasing that side of themselves as well. But bro, that's how you build lifelong sustainable bases. The reason I could do a show in my backyard for the next 20 fucking years is because of that personal. The music don't even matter half as much. Like, you can go get great music from a lot of places, but that personable aspect is what separates everything.
Yeah, I was talking to Brian Z as a co-founder of Audio Mag, used to be with DJ Booth, known him for some years, and he made this separation. He said, we're living in a time where there's moment artists and there's forever artists. And there's a lot of artists right now that don't recognize that based upon their trajectory, arena tours may not be part of the plans. But yet and still, he's like, I wish we had a more dialogue around the idea of the middle class artists. Because it's so much more attainable for so many folks out here. And the reason why, and I know you brought this up earlier, the reason why I find myself so concerned about these other artists is because I do consultations, I do mentoring. I've talked to them in a private Zoom, and it's like I hear the stories and I see the human in them. And to a certain, like I said, my former manager, he joked. He was like, "You're an artist humanitarian." And I'm like, "We ain't got to go that far." But I do care. And so when I see these stories do matter to me. And so when I'm giving them the information, I want to make sure that it's right. But that can be to a bit of a fault at times, right? With that said, though, man, I just got to continue to just say, first of all, thank you for having us up here, bro. Because I'm like, the amount of gems. Now I gotta drive home with all this information. What are we doing?
Come on. From Twitter to the crib,
man.
to the pergola.
And I think that accessibility is one of your, not just the accessibility, but your willingness to do that. Because I still don't know why. I got the invitation. I'm sure there's many of people that's like, why you didn't invite me to the pergola?
Because you earned it. That's what I'm telling you. I wouldn't just be like, hey, nigga, you. It's like, I knew your page. I've seen several. I can go down and find several.
Wow.
This isn't your first episode.
It's not.
You feel me? You earn that. It doesn't just, the shit don't just have, you have to earn those things. You feel me? And that's what it was. I seen the backing behind it.
Yeah. Well, you continue to be a light for all of us, man. It's something to where I love the dialogue that you're changing, even amongst the folks locally where I'm from, in the Inland Empire.
Come on.
Is that so much of what you talk about in community-wise out here in Vallejo, I hear so much of it echo
Hard.
in the IE. And I'm like,
Hard.
then when I start to talking about this independence and talking about how there's people out here who still like, yeah, I know I can buy the vinyl one time, but I'm buying the vinyl. And I don't even have a record player. I just want to put it up in the house. They're like, those people don't exist. And I realize there are certain areas where they're here, right? But I got to say, though, I love the fact that you're changing the conversation, not just around, oh, I got to do shows at the house, which is happening, but you're also changing around the conversation of what can we do in the community? Because that hasn't always been a priority for a lot of artists.
Niggas just got to be human.
Why is that so hard for people?
That's always been my thing. It's like, I just want to do what the fuck I want to do when I want to do it. And I feel like that's work. It's no grand scheme really necessary. It's like, I think if you just leave with that and try to be a dope nigga and do dope shit, do the shit that you love, like, it just shows, it resonates. Like, people can feel that shit. And that's all it's about. Once it starts becoming about the numbers and the metrics and that shit, it ruins everything. That the music is where you go when you have nowhere to go, right? And when you start tightening it with everything else, it just ruins that. Like, that place that you're supposed to go when you have nowhere else to go don't even feel good no more. Yeah. You feel me? And that's a shame. That's always a disservice.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna end here because I see the rumblings of, I saw a video recently, right, where it's a very honest conversation that you're having amongst the team about what stage you're at right now and what move needs to be done next, right? Is it signing with a certain situation? Is it, you have the opportunity, you said in this video, to change things. And there's two things I wonder about that. One, what is the want to change things in that infrastructure versus when I'm looking at this, I'm like, you got it all. At least in my eyes, I'm like, the things that they can offer you in terms of reach, in terms of machine. Oh, thank you. In terms of reach, in terms of machine. You get that? Okay. In terms of reach, in terms of machine. Thank you. In terms of systemizing, in terms of having a campaign for your content. I know there's obviously capital involved and so many things that I don't even know about, but I look at it and I'm like, bro, you're doing that. Yeah. And we've seen so many stories of folks who have pivoted, and I'm not saying that you'll be that, but I'm saying people who have pivoted and then shit changed and it wasn't necessarily how they envisioned it. And so you got to understand, for me as an artist that loves what you do, I understand the business of it, but there's also part of me that's like, I want to see you win on whatever level that you got to win to feed everything that's going on here. But there's another part of me that looks at that and I'm like, man, so if you can speak, so whatever you can speak to, what's kind of the place that you're at right now with that?
I do have it all. If I didn't want to go higher.
Clip it.
Right? I think that's it. I think a lot of people from the outside tell me that. And they're like, you got this. And it's because they don't know what I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
You feel me? And it's like, yeah, I do. To manage this. But what I'm building and what I intend to accomplish, I don't have all that I need. Otherwise, I wouldn't be,
Even
seeking
looking
more.
to that, yeah.
I'm building Apple and Disney.
Yeah.
And, like that's how I look at the scale of what I'm creating and what I'm building. And even with that, I'm only willing to accept what aligns with me, which is why I've had so much difficulty. Because I could go get money from a lot of places, but I'm only willing to accept money that aligns with me and my values and my vision. And I be having to remind myself that. Like, I had a fan come up after the show one time and he was like, man, I just don't want you to sign because this. And when you get in there, this. And I had to put my hand on the shoulder and I was like,
Chill.
nigga, I'm me.
I'm me. Yeah.
I'm me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a important thing to remember. And Splash has all reminded me, T, it's like, whatever I do, nigga,
You're going to be you.
I'm me.
And I'll be honest with you, there's a part of the person that is a fan of what you do. There's a part of an artist to artist where I look at that and there's that initial energy that's like what's going on? But then that empathy, which I think has been a reoccurring theme in our conversation, that empathy will show you a lot about, first of all, y'all don't know what it requires to just do what we're doing here and to keep this in rotation, but also your vision is your vision. Right. And as much as that person has been gifted whatever time they've been given, you also have your time and you have your plans that you have for it. I just say, regardless where this thing goes, what you have done already, I showed you to my mom's, bro. Showed you to my mom's and she was like,
come on.
In a lot of ways, I felt like I described early on in my career a vision of something. I just didn't know what that looked like. I show her in my phone and she's like goosebumps.
Hard.
And I'm like, see the kids is here. You see like this is happening in the backyard. And so now when she comes to visit me and she sees me building up this performance space in the living room, she's asking more questions. And I just got to thank you because I feel like, because you talked about tangible things, but the fact that you're a tangible example and you're showing in a very transparent way, like this is what the results are.
Right.
If this is what your goal is, look, I'm giving you all the game within the music. I'm giving you all the game within the free game Fridays. But I love the fact that you're offering that, because coming up, that's what made me want to go to YouTube, was that I was listening to these interviews of my favorite rappers and they weren't telling me a thing.
All right, nigga, my shroom hitting now.
Hey, well, it's time. It's time. Look.
It's been an incredible
DIY,
episode.
Look. DIYers, and shrooms is hit. But I appreciate you, LaRussell. DIYers, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all made this possible. Continue to like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff.
This was from Twitter.
From Twitter.
Niggas made it all the way down to the pergola.
You thought I wasn't going to happen when you put that out there? I said, we out here.
My nigga drove hours to make this happen. That's how you earn your right. You feel me? Nigga
Easy.
made 100 episodes before this happened. That's how you earn your right. Like, none of that shit is given, bro. You do the work and you get the result. Simple as that. If you don't want to do the work, get the fuck off the court.
You're wasting time. You're wasting space. Well, we appreciate you, bro.
Come on.
Thank you.
Love it.
Love it.